Good morning, everybody. Beautiful November 9th day. Unbelievable how great the weather's been, and the harvest has been going well for all our agricultural people. We start our meeting with public comment. Is there anybody in the audience here wishing to address the Winona County Board about any issue? If so, please come to the podium, and I will, please come, and I ask you to state your name and address and for the record. And I will ask legal to look into, there was a gentleman on it was a national broadcast, it was a school board meeting. He was very offended when he was asked to state his name and address. And I don't know if that's an invasion of privacy or not, but so just sometime, we've always asked for it. It's been our policy. Yeah, but somebody was quite offended that they were asked that information, but we do ask. So,
good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Daniel Decker. I live at 165 East 4th Street here in Winona now since April of this year. My issue is about DAV and transportation of us veterans. And 2020, I had nothing but problems with these people, or a Katie, I should say. Calling her, not getting return calls, or having to call her again to get on a schedule to get taken to a doctor's appointments. I've been left standing after talking to her a few days before to provide a ride for me. No show. In 2020, that happened once. 2021, that happened again in February. And then I had a belly full of this. And I started using the text messages. And once again in May, no transportation for this vet. And it's been an ongoing problem. It's a broken system. We're outsourcing the DAV to drive us veterans, and it's not working well. And we are not getting the transportation when we need it. There's every excuse in the book I've ever heard from her. Required by this section. We're training new drivers. Then on this earlier in the year, come to find out we only have 2 volunteer drivers in Winona. And then one of them ended up with a medical condition. Now we're down to 1. So it's impossible. So why are we calling Rochester for issues in Winona County, get transportation for the vets? I lived in the country, and that's why I ended up moving into town where I'm out of my element. This is not me. So I'll give it back to you guys, but we have a problem.
We usually don't engage in conversations such, but can you give us the name and a phone number that you're contacting so we can follow up?
Yes, her name is Katie, and let me put some glasses on. I'll give you her phone. And it's always my fault because I've talked to the DAV officers here, and it's my fault. Just hang with me, folks. Her phone number is 507-703-1139. And I have talked to Jerry a couple times about this issue not showing up when he was the old DAV officer. And he offered me food cards. I don't need food cards. I need transportation.
This way we can follow up with who you've had contact.
Did you say you had email copies of?
I have text messages. And bear with me.
Do we have a place you could forward those messages to?
Good luck with me trying to do that. I'm sorry, folks.
We can follow up with Katie and or the Veterans Service officers here.
Thanks, Maureen.
Get clarity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
It's a broken system. That's
Okay.
all I have to say.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, folks, for listening. Bill, you might as well follow me. You know more about it. Okay.
Yes, please come up.
My name is William P. Kozlowski. I live at 1631 West Fifth Street. I've been a volunteering veteran for over 15 years. What I can ditto what he had to say. I am a driver, and I was the only driver for approximately about 5 months. And I call and I put text messages, and it's sometimes 3-4 days later that this person gets back to me. So there's a lot of people that have appointments out there, and at the last minute, the VA will call, they need to be at the hospital. She has lots of rules and regulations. When Steve Carson and Val used to run this operation, it ran like a clockwork. Since the end of Jerry Bigelow's term, I think he had the attitude that he didn't want to deal with these drivers anymore, and he was always concerned about where the money was going to come to pay for these drivers. Believe me, the Legion and the VFW gambling funds have sufficient funds to pay for these drivers. And I can see why Winona County let it go, because don't have to pay for the gas, don't have to pay for the insurance. I'm sure the board was happy to get rid of it, but it's not a good system, not one bit at all. And I wanted to be here a year and a half ago. I called about making an appointment, and they said that I had to write a letter, and then I could come in and speak, and then you folks would go forward with that. I mean, I could sit here and just reiterate everything he had to say, but what he had to say, I would say about 99% true. So yes, it is a broken system, and like I said, why do we? And then think about this, the veterans in Olmsted County and Winona County, I don't know the numbers, there's gotta be 50,000 veterans, and I also heard a rumor that she takes care of Fillmore County. So that's 3 counties. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I know they do Winona and Rochester, and that's too many people for one person to deal with, and I rest my case.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
This is the first we've heard of this,
Yep.
so thank you for coming,
Okay,
and we can do some follow-up.
all right, thank you.
All right, is there anyone else wishing to address the Winona County Board?
Yes, I would like to address the board, please.
Okay, please, name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Travis Peterson, and I live at 55 Shady Oak Court. Commissioners Kavesi, Meyer, Olson, Ward, and Jacob, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Forced public masking as a COVID mitigation strategy is the reason I've joined the past number of county board meetings and the topic I'd like to address today. I would like to voice my support for personal mask choice and vehement opposition to a public mask mandate for my family and extended family. I come from a large family with long Winona County roots. We reside in and around Winona, Rolling Stone, Altura, Lewiston, Utica, and St. Charles. We're business owners, teachers, daycare providers, farmers, municipal workers, business executives, and healthcare workers. I have emailed my opposition to a public mask mandate to you all a few times and have received a number of thoughtful responses. To the 4 of you that have responded, thank you for taking the time and effort to take your job in this issue seriously. One key response I wanted to address from our emails is the desire to message to the public that this decision is about science and not politics. This is a false narrative. As elected officials, you are all by definition politicians. Public health policy is political. Please do your part to stop COVID tyranny. We've had enough. Our hospitals are not overrun. We have vaccines. We have treatment protocols. And it appears there's soon to be a COVID treatment pill authorized under the EUA. Please discontinue the pursuit of Winona County mask mandate. Thank you for the time and have a great day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the Winona County Board? Is there anyone else wishing to address the county board? And for the third and final time, is there anyone else wishing to address the county board? Okay, thank you. We'll move on in our schedule here. Item number 3, approval of the county board meeting minutes. 3.1 is the county board, October 26, 2021.
Move approval of 3.1. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Olson to approve the county board meeting minutes from October 26, 2021. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, approved. Item 4, acknowledge receipt of approved committee meeting minutes from 4.1 is the Planning Commission, September 16th, 2021. And 4.2 is the Road and Bridge from June 15th, 2021.
Move to acknowledge 4.1 and 4.2.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacob, second by Commissioner Kavesi to acknowledge the receipt of the approved committee meeting minutes 4.1 Planning Commission, September 16th, 2021, 4.2 Road and Bridge, June 15th, 2021. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, approved. Thank you. Consent comments and approval of the agenda. Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, I have a committee report.
Commissioner Meyer?
I have a brief committee report and I want to discuss a possible board action.
Olson?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Jacob?
I'd like to pull 6.7.
6.7, okay, we'll move 6.7 to 7.0. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Ms. Holte?
Nothing, ma'am.
Attorney Sonneman?
Nothing for me.
Okay. And I will have just a brief committee update. And so with that, we have an amended agenda.
I'll
Move
move
to
to,
approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Meyer to approve the amended agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, that's approved. Ms. Holte, would you read the consent business for the record, please?
Absolutely. 6.1, approve conditional use permit for Beth Bolstead to allow dwelling of less than 40 acres. 6.2, approve advertisement for 2022 official newspaper. 6.3, approve LG 214 premises permit application and resolution for County Climbers Snowmobile Club. 6.4, approve resolution and cancel stale warrant checks. 6.5, approve software acquisition and license agreement with Next Chapter Technologies Incorporated for purchase of electronic data management system. 6.6, approve resolution to transfer funds from CASA Municipal to CASA Regular Construction Account. 6.7 was pulled. 6.8, approve 2022 to 2023 Natural Resources Block Grant Agreement. 6.9, approve 2022 towards Zero Deaths Enforcement Grant Agreement. 6.10, approve transfer of funds from Sales Tax Fund 04 to Road and Bridge Fund 03. 6.11, approve transfer of funds from Road and Bridge State Aid Fund 07 to Sales Tax Fund 04. 6.12, approve transfer of funds from Road and Bridge Fund 03 to Road and Bridge State Aid Fund 07. 6.13, approve governmental bonds post-issuance compliance policy and procedure. 6.14, confirm payment of disbursements.
I'll move to approve the consent business as read.
Second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Olson to approve the consent business as read. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, approved. So now 6.7, and that is approve wireless survey with Macro Technologies. Commissioner Jacob, you pulled that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just wondering, normally I probably would have called Ken to understand this. Since he's on vacation, I didn't. So do we have anyone here who understands exactly what the study is for and what we're doing? I see part of it is linked to the jail, and then part of it is linked to, it looks like, this building, Veteran Services Building, and the courthouse. Is that correct?
Correct. Chad Lang is also on the phone. If you'd like to hear from him.
Good morning, Steve, board members. So we've been working with Marco Technologies on an overall network refresh. This is kind of the beginning phases of that. Our network equipment is rather outdated. Wireless is very outdated. So this is necessary for us to get ahead of the network refresh, so we know exactly where we need new access points, new switches, things of that sort. The part of the jail bid is that they're going to need pretty seamless wireless over there for the transfer inmates from the court all the way down to the cell. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Okay, well, it's always easy for me to support making sure that our staff has the tools they need, and this looks like this supports giving them the tools that they need. I think what stood out to me is the part that's linked to the jail, that those thousands of dollars seem like they should be coming out of the jail fund. It's just, there's spillover and crossover of our construction budget of the jail versus our standard county board budget, but
Sure.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought of that as well, but we thought if we could just encompass the entire survey at one fell swoop, it would just, and take it out of the IT funds, that made more sense.
Okay, I just wanted better understanding. I mean, as I looked through it, I didn't really understand exactly what the county was proposing to do. So I guess I'm good with all that. I'll move to approve 6.7.
Thank you.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Jacob, second by Commissioner Meyer to approve 6.7, the wireless survey with macro technologies. I do have a question. It's coming out of the IT budget, but with all this wireless and people not wanting people-to-people contact and communication remotely and everything, would it be a stretch to pull it out of the ARP funds?
So Marcia, in lieu of that, this is part of the early stages of an overall network refresh that I will be presenting to the board hopefully next month. And that's where I'm hoping to pull those funds from. That's going to be a bigger ticket item for overall network switches, routers, everything that's going to be needed to support not only us, but the community and other counties. And so that one will be hopefully coming out of the ARPA funds.
Okay, so how are the two gonna, are they gonna overlap? Are they gonna enhance each other?
They will enhance each other. Yes, we need this predictive survey to know exactly what we'll need for our network needs moving forward. We can't determine what we need for equipment until we have this survey done to know where the weaknesses and where the access points need to go and such. So.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
would you
Commissioner.
be more comfortable if we just noted for the record that if retroactively these can be later determined to be taken from our ARPA budget, that we would like that to be so?
Yeah, I think that we should look at that alternative and see, that
Good idea.
it is an infrastructure type of purchase. And
Sure.
And then a bigger question I've experienced it in my own surroundings. The internet and everything sometimes seems to be really bogged down. Are we good in the city of Winona with all the infrastructure going on and all the, I see this big office building across the way, and it's kind of funny. There was a news story about somebody wanting to expand something, and the 5G. We're not going crazy on 5G yet because we don't have the infrastructure, and everybody's been pushing it. And I remember many years ago when we started all this wireless stuff, I says, we're going to suck all the air, funny. We're going to suck all the air out of the system and not have enough air to transmit all this stuff. So are we good on the basics? Because in the hinterlands, broadband still is an issue. So are we good in this immediate area?
The infrastructure in the area is good, Marcia, as far as the vendors that are providing service. What we have to support that in our own infrastructure within our four walls is not sufficient. And that's where I'm working with Marco Technologies to do that network refresh moving forward, that I'll be presenting to you all soon.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, with with the caveat that if it can be possibly worked into ARPA funds instead of the IT technology fund. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Okay, approved. All right, good discussion. 7.1, receive Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation update presentation.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
So if I hand out a few more handouts, so you
You sure can. You sure can.
Hi, I tend to talk loud. I'll try to not.
That's
blow
okay.
people's eardrums out.
And are you Tim's counterpart?
Yes,
or
yes,
associate?
sorry, yes. Alyssa Olchenbruns. I am here to give you an update on our work in the area. And of course, first of all, to say thank you so much for your support over the years. Everything I talk about today is only possible because of contributors such as yourselves. So with that, I'm assuming everybody here is pretty familiar with Smith. This is the only county I'm going to be able to present to actually in 10 years. Tim usually hogs you guys, so I'm
Yes.
happy to be able to be down here today and chatting with you. But with that, if you don't have any questions, I'll just sort of give you some highlights of what we've been doing. And of course, we try to be very good stewards of your dollars. So I know you received other information in your board packets. Actually, for every dollar that's contributed, we're able to put about $21 back into Winona County alone. So we're very happy about that return on your investment. All right, so this year, not like any other year, typically Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, we put $5 to $6 million back into the region in our 3 areas of focus. That's assisting entrepreneurs, early childhood investment, and community vitality. Because this is not normal, we actually, through partnerships and collaborations, were able to invest another $12 million into the region. And a lot of that was for relief efforts for the pandemic. So I'll highlight some of those as I go through the 3 main areas here. All right, so our largest area of focus is entrepreneur support. In general, we want to make sure entrepreneurs have the resources and networks to succeed. As you're probably aware, typically for those who are starting out, a business, actually 8 out of 10 businesses fail within their first 2 years. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. We're very happy with our track record at Smith. Actually, 9 out of 10 are succeeding if we're able to be part of their assistance package. So one of the main thrusts of our entrepreneur support is our lending program. So we can help somebody start ground level all the way up to equity investments. So please keep that in mind if you know of somebody who's looking to start or expand their business. Even for just a small part of that lending package, we're able to provide one-on-one technical assistance. So we really credit that with sort of our track record of success. Also, due to the pandemic, we were able to give out actually 66 $10,000 loans through our partnership with the state to local businesses just in York County. So again, very happy to be able to be the conduit to sort of get resources out into rural Minnesota within our region. Other than that, we actually transitioned our economic development grant round last year. So still focused on economic development as in helping the bottom line of communities moving forward to actually be really focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Winona County received 2 different grants. Engage Winona specifically received a grant, $15,000 grant to uplift diverse voices. To really put that towards the forefront of your community's change makers, of your gatherings, of your marketing, all of that. Then also your local school district received a $15,000 grant to really focus on families of immigrants and refugees, to make sure the families are involved and really to start making those bridges of connection, to make people comfortable and create more equitable environments. So that's a quick overview of our economic development work. Our next largest area is early childhood support. As you know, we're in a nationwide childcare shortage. Actually, within our region, we have about 900 slots that we are short on right now, meaning kids don't have care. We also, we just don't have enough providers is really the main thing. So what we're trying to do is make sure that providers are not seeing barriers when entering the field, trying to remove barriers from those who want to stay in the field, but they're not sure. And really just keep our children in quality care. What we're doing is we have provided over 35 virtual trainings to providers that are all develop approved, meaning they can get the continuing education credits that they need to stay in the field. Actually, within this county, 29 providers took advantage of that, and they're of course all free of charge. It's free wonderful. Actually, every one of our trainings has a waiting list, wonderful and bad. So we just keep going. We're actually in another second series for just this fiscal year already, and they're still maxed out capacity. So it's a major need within the region. Other than that, we also have a consultant, Jeff Andrews. Please spread his name far and wide. He is actually working one-on-one with providers who want to get in the field. Maybe they're struggling with licensing. Maybe it's your community as a whole wants to address the healthcare shortage. He's actually working with the Sur County as a whole to try to address the shortages in that area. So please keep his name top of mind if you're hearing of somebody who has some struggles in this area. Other than that, we continue to provide grants in the area of early education as well. Your local children's center received a grant to help with pandemic-related efforts. And we, of course, give out about 30,000 books a year, so St. Charles access some of those books this year. Any questions on our early childhood work? I'll also give you a quick update. Oh, yes?
The 900 daycare slots that are needed.
9,000.
9,000
Yes.
across how many counties, or what is
Regions.
Winona's?
That's our region, our 20-county region that we
Okay.
serve. Yes.
So we don't have a figure for Winona specifically.
I can get that for you. It's on our
Okay.
website, but I'll pull it out and email it to you. Yes. And unfortunately, one of the main things that has come from these trainings that we're hosting is we ask the providers, so there's usually about 60 in a class, how many of you been in the field for 1 to 5 years? A few will raise their hand. 5 to 10, a few more. 10 to 15, a few more. 25 plus, about 2/3 of the room. So this is also a concern moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years about how we're going to replace those who are starting to retire. So, but we're working on it. All right, our last.
So
Yes.
I'm sorry, you triggered a,
Yeah.
with that, more and more independent school districts are going through these pre-K, programs and everything.
Yeah.
And I've heard from a few daycare providers that that's greatly affecting their bottom line, is that they're losing kids who are a little bit more independent. You can have more numbers by the rules and everything, and they're losing revenue. But I see it in the paper all the time. Every school district's considering some type of, pre-K program. So is your organization looking at that?
So that is true. Essentially, infants are the most challenging to provide for. You need a home-based provider, for example, can only have 2 infants under 1 year old at a time.
Right.
That's the greatest need. They're the most expensive to care for, the easiest to care for, and the money makers are the older kids before they go into kindergarten. That's definitely an issue. So what we're doing is pre-K is a massive need as well. We need more preschools around the whole region to help our children. We don't have enough preschools either. So our consultant, Jeff, is really working on being creative with how we help providers. The fact is, a home-based provider is not going to be able to provide preschool education. So,
I wouldn't make that such a bold statement.
well, true, but in general.
That's a very bold statement. I've had some, and this is many years ago, I had some awesome private,
Oh, no,
and
my
then
kids go to a home-based provider. We would not do a central.
then you send them to public, then you send them to public school and it goes in a different direction.
But now preschool is
Yeah.
actually is a curriculum that in general, a curriculum, many home-based providers don't have time to invest when they already have children ranging from 3 months to 5 years old.
Right.
So what we're doing is really being creative about the models that we're proposing. And every community is different, but that's what Jeff really focuses on. So for example, one way to help providers limit those overhead costs is to do a pod model. Essentially, 4 home-based providers can rent a space, use the space together, massively limiting overhead costs that allows them to then gain more money. Because yes, it is hard without those preschoolers. So it's a transition, but it's something that it is happening. So we need to try to work with it, essentially. Also, we've seen a lot of partnerships with things like nursing homes and starting daycare facilities within a nursing home. A lot of creative partnerships. Actually, June Reinecke from your community used to be on our board. I just went off a couple years ago from the Children's Center here at the university, and she really helped us with developing these programs. So, any other questions in that area?
At an Association of Minnesota Counties a couple months ago. And I have to think, maybe it was Carleton County. They're using they use some of their federal dollars. And they are in the process of building a center like you just mentioned. It's pods so that independent daycare, providers can come in and rent space and specialize and do certain things in certain age groups. So, that's probably a possible use of some of all these federal dollars that are coming in to build some of these types of systems.
Yes.
It's happening slowly, but I would have to double check. I want to say Carleton County up north is doing that because they had a huge demand and they had the same set of circumstances, aged people, leaving the system, not enough people going in because of the regulations and everything. And it helps with the regulations too, because then it can be coordinated for the whole complex versus each individual provider.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with it?
Yeah, we actually have a couple local examples. In LeSueur County, Jeff is working with the actual county as a whole to provide resources for childcare providers. So they haven't gotten to the stage of finding space yet. They're looking at resources for all of their home-based providers because they have smaller communities. And that's going really well. It's basically going to be an online page where they can access free materials and trainings. The county is going to provide the actual in-person trainings, the develop approved free of charge. So they're working at it that way, and that's with CARES dollars that they're using. Also within the community of Waseca specifically, the city is a partner. They actually worked with the owner of a building that has been abandoned, and they're working to sort of subsidize that, to renovate it, to bring in a number of home-based childcare providers to use that in that pod. So we're seeing it pop up again more and more throughout the area and with government assistance.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so our last area of focus is community vitality. And that's really about keeping philanthropic dollars local. The average person gives to 5 charities a year. Why not make sure those dollars are staying here in our region, in our communities? So we are the fiscal host of a number of community foundations throughout the region. St. Charles is one in Winona County. What we do is all that back office work, as Tim says, the headachy stuff. So those local volunteers can go out, raise money, and invest it where they see fit. They've done a lot of great things, revamping their whole green space, starting the WOW, What's on Wednesday, which is a wonderful group that does community activities every Wednesday during the summer. And the list goes on and on. So it's a great initiative to really empower local leaders. Then I also want to make sure you're all aware of our small town grant round, which is in the summer. So we just wrapped it up, unfortunately, but that's for communities in 10,000 in population and under. And it's really to help, as you guys know, government can only do so much. But this is about empowering local volunteers to take charge, take ownership. Dust some of those projects off the shelf that just aren't going to happen, aren't getting done. Every community has those. So what can we do to help? One of the more recent grants went to St. Charles, again, to their hometown resource center. And that was to really help them expand during the pandemic because there was such an increase in need. So those projects have been massively varied. And again, it's really to just respond to opportunities in the local community. So with that, do you guys have any other questions for me?
Just a point of clarification. Did you
Yes.
say Engage Winona, you gave them a $50,000?
15,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
15. Okay, 15.
It's hard for me to get presentations.
All right. Okay.
And
That's okay. Right.
enunciate more.
Yeah.
So all in all, we've given about 1.3 million to Winona County in the past 2 years. And again, that's through a lot of partnerships because of relief grant funding. And with that, do you guys have any other questions, or else thank you so much for your support, and we hope you will continue in 2022.
I have a question from a staff member.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kate Qualley, the Director of Planning and Environmental Services and the Winona County EDA. I would like to make a recommendation to the organization that the Economic Development Authority of Winona County receive a presentation each year prior to this board presentation, as this comes out of my budget. And also that a reduction of school district support in favor of housing support, because as one of the other legs on the stool of economic development, besides the cultivation of entrepreneurs and childcare, is housing. And it would be great if we could receive a survey and that the county board could receive a survey based on the previous year's accomplishments and mix of loans in our county, loans and grants, to see which things have priority for us going forward. Because I feel like we need a little bit more input for the money. And I see lots of great projects here. I also see some things that I'm not sure that the EDA bankers would love quite as much as perhaps some other things. So thank you for the input, thank you for the good work, and thank you, board, for the chance to speak.
Coordinate.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sorry, I didn't know what of your budget, so we tried to present to the EDAs if that's appropriate.
Okay, great.
We'll get on your schedule. Great.
Okay. Well, tell Tim we missed him.
Yes.
He's a
Down
mainstay.
very soon, I'll have him stop by.
Have him stop by. All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Alyssa. 7.2, review, adopt resolution requesting state approval of local option sales tax referendum. And I think Heidi left at all our places. There was a correction. I thought the jail got cheaper, maybe. Found some cost savings or something. Wishful thinking. So the resolution is for the sales tax for a 28 million. In the packet, it had been 25. So Ms. Holte, do you have any additional information?
I do not. Ms. Sonneman, I know that you worked on this with Mr. Fritz. If you have anything additional to offer.
Yeah, actually, I put the resolution together. And so, and I wasn't here, obviously, for the previous meeting, so I wasn't aware that it was at 0.25%. I thought it was 0.23. So anyways, this resolution is the first step in what is a pretty procedural, pursuant to the statute, just like Itasca County did, and they actually went for $78 million. So I thought that's like, whoa, at 1%. And they received their approval in February of 2021 from the state legislature. This is our first step that we need to do to bring it to our representatives and ask that essentially a special law be done that allows Winona County to issue or prepare and put a referendum on, most likely in November of 2022. But we would need to get this, it first would go, I believe, and I don't know if Pat's on the call here. Yeah. Go to finance and have that all prepared, and then contact our district and our representative and our senator, our four representatives and senators. Move it along, but there's a very specific in the statute, as well as Department of Revenue has a how-to list, if you want to call it that, and that was provided to you in your previous packet. So again, this is the first step that we need to do, and so we're asking for the board to approve this resolution, which was directed for me to prepare at the October 12th meeting. So,
Questions or discussion? I've got just a couple things. Number 4, it says this replacement correctional facility. I don't know what the term is. Jails aren't mandated, but it is, in my opinion, it is unfunded mandate from the State Department of Corrections that we build a new jail. So what would the proper term be to say that it is an unfunded mandate? But we don't have to have a jail by statute.
I think there's a question about that. The sheriff, and Sheriff Banrud is here, is responsible for making sure that there's a place for people to be held who need to be held. And so it's pretty clear, at least in my opinion, that counties are responsible for having a correctional facility. So,
it is unfunded from a higher level of government, meaning the Department of Corrections.
That's true.
Yeah.
Although in this project, as the board knows, there was $750,000 provided by the state.
Right, we do appreciate that. Yes.
So there's a mix.
But part of the messaging, I think, when we go to a referendum stage is there is a lot of the public that thinks there's some magic pot of money that you build jails with, not all on local property tax payers. And that's something that it's just people think that the state is going to throw money at you and help you build this. And so that's my point there, is that the verbiage.
Right,
And then,
and if I could add
Yes.
to that, Chair Ward, this would allow the county to collect through sales tax rather than all through property tax.
right.
So
It's
it's a
an
nice
option.
mix, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
One thing that comes to mind is that, and I totally agree with it, it does need to go on a referendum, and we will have, if we get this passed, we have to do a lot of public relations and a lot of explaining. If we put it on the 2022, for a referendum vote and say it would fail, is there an option after maybe more discussion, and I hope it doesn't, but if it would, is there an option to bring it back to referendum the following? I know school districts do this all the time. It seems like they got a referendum, it fails, well, then they recraft something and they throw it out to the public again. Do we have that kind of option?
I didn't see in the statute that it's just a one and only. So I think there would be, I'd have to kind of make sure, but I think that makes sense that, because this could be done anytime during the term really of the bond. So,
Okay, all right. Came to mind.
okay, but good question. Right.
All right. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
I would move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution for review or requesting state approval of local option sales tax referendum made by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Kavesi. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, passes. Thank you. All right, 7.3, discuss approved jail bond pre-sale resolution and program. Bonding, it's basically saying to do it in two separate groupings because of the way the market is and the way the debt service is, configured. And are you Mr. Debt Service?
Mr. Debt Service.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Ward and Commissioners. I'm Bruce Kimmel with Ellers. I was with you about a year ago, and here we are with phases 2 and 3 of the financing. So I want to walk through the pre-sale reports that I believe are in your board packets.
Okay.
And please stop me along the way if you have questions. So as you know, last year with the first financing for the jail, the county funded $10 million towards the project cost. And it's my understanding that the total project cost is right around $28 million. So we're here today to present a financing plan for the other $18 million. You might ask, well, why are we doing it in two separate bond issues? Why don't we just issue one bond for $18 million? And it's because of an obscure part of the federal tax law called bank qualification, where if an issuer like Winona County issues less than $10 million in a given calendar year, you can designate those tax-exempt bonds as bank qualified, and that attracts lower interest rates than just normal tax-exempt bonds. It's essentially because if a bank were to buy those bonds, not only do they get a federal and state tax exemption on the interest they earn, but they can actually take a tax write-off on the deposits that they use to buy the bonds. So as a result of that, you receive a lower interest rate, especially on the longer term bonds with this financing. So it's definitely to the county's advantage to split this financing, do one issue that closes here in 2021, and then a second issue that closes in the beginning of 2022. We propose to sell both bonds together on December 14th, as you might have seen, but then have that split closing so that one can be in 21 and the other one in 22. So I won't go through the pre-sale report in exhaustive detail, although I know you love it when I talk about arbitrage and continuing disclosure. But I will note, you may recall that the first financing was for a term of 25 years, the one that was sold last year. This one, and also the 22 bonds, will be for a term of 24 years. So all three of those bond issues will mature and expire in 2046. And you'll have a similarly aggressive call feature on these two bond issues as you do on the 2020 bonds. Those 2020 bonds were callable at or after, anytime after the year 2030. We'll have the same call feature on these new bonds. So all three bonds would be callable either for refinancing or redemption or a combination of both anytime after December 1 of 2030.
What's the penalty for paying them off early?
There is none.
There is none.
No,
Okay.
there's no prepayment. So if you choose to shorten the term or to refinance and pay off a portion, that's solely at your discretion with no penalty. Yeah. And I should also note, Chair Ward, it's really important for folks outside of this room to know that only you can decide whether and how to prepay or refinance. The investors have no option of forcing a rate reset on you or anything like that. When we get the interest rates on December 14th, those will be the interest rates unless the county decides to take action at a future date to change the future bond structure.
Okay.
I also wanted to note, because this is a jail project, you're able to leverage the state's credit rating, which is a definite plus. Your own rating is excellent at AA with S&P, but the state has a AAA rating with a now stable outlook. It used to be a negative outlook, but S&P revised that because the state seems to be doing better on a fiscal basis. So the potential investors will look both to your rating as well as to the state's and kind of see that as a backstop to yours, also attracting a somewhat lower interest rate, which is obviously to your advantage and to the taxpayer's advantage. Really, a lot of these remaining items are similar to what we discussed last year. I did want to note, you might have noticed this first bond issue is for $10 million, but we're estimating that you would generate about $11 million of project funding from that. And talk about smoke and mirrors, right? How do you generate more money for the project than the actual bond amount? And that's because of something in today's market called premium pricing, where bond investors know that the actual yields are quite low right now, but in the interest of possibly reselling those bonds at a future date, they want a higher interest rate on the face or the coupon rate. So that's where the potential investors might want a 4% coupon on some of these bonds, but knowing that the actual yield may only be 0.3 or 0.4%, and they're willing to pay you more than $1 for $1 worth of bonds in order to get that premium. We take full advantage of that and size the bonds accordingly to, again, get you exactly the amount of funding you need for the jail project, right? So it's not like you pay more, but you'll essentially have a lower bond amount generating a higher amount of proceeds and then a slightly higher interest rate, but the yield to the county all works out in the wash. And we're seeing still near historic low rates. Rates have come up a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but we don't expect that to change radically. So we're hoping that over the next month, we'll just work aggressively to get these bonds sold so that we can come back to you at your evening meeting on the 14th for award of the two bond issues. Madam Chair and Commissioners, let me just see if there's anything else crucial to note. One thing I would note is that because the jail project will be continuing on for some period of time, we've already been working with the county treasurer to invest the existing bond proceeds from the 2020 issue. And we would propose to work with her and her office again, just to make sure that you're earning some amount of interest until those bond proceeds are needed to pay construction draws. So they're not just sitting in a money market fund earning 2 basis points or anything like that. Finally, if I can go to the schedule, and then I won't have a lot else to present on the 22 bonds since they're largely identical to the 21 bonds. But you can see we're here today for the pre-sale review. We'll be looking to talk with the rating agency on December 1st. We actually already have that booked with S&P. And then we'll have the ability actually to take bids on the morning of the 14th, because again, that's your evening meeting. So I'll be back with you that night to present the winning bids on the 21 and 22 bonds, answer any questions you have, and then present the award resolutions for the county board's consideration. The last thing I would note is that you may recall that with the 2020 bonds, the average annual debt service was a little over 500,000. And this bond issue, you can see on the last page of the 21 pre-sale report, we're projecting right around $600,000 a year after it stabilizes. We're doing a sort of a ramp up, you may recall, where you pay just a small amount this fiscal year on the 2020 bonds. You'll pay a little bit more in fiscal 22, and then you'll be at full steam in 23 and beyond. And so both the 21A and the 22B bonds are structured with that game plan in mind. But I did want to note that, so in addition to the $500,000 of debt service that you have on the 2020 bonds, this will be about another $600,000. And then if you go to the same page on the 22 bonds, you can see that the estimated debt service there is right around $370,000. So all total, the total debt service will be we estimate will be right around $1.4 to $1.5 million. I think that's where, certainly if the legislature approves the sales tax and if you choose to put the question to the voters and that is approved, that would certainly be a significant benefit to the county and its property taxpayers by having the sales tax pick up that debt service. Are there any questions about the pre-sale report that I did go through or the 22 bonds, which again is just to sort of pick up the remainder of what's needed to fund the full $28 million in total for the jail project?
It's a lot of money, a lot of numbers.
It is.
20, and it'll be done in 2046?
Yes,
It'll be paid.
and unless
I
the
won't be
county
here.
pays back.
I won't get to celebrate. I won't get to cut the ribbon.
And Chair Ward, one thing we see, I work with a lot of counties on major projects like this. One thing a lot of counties opt to do is when a refunding opportunity does present itself, they'll oftentimes take advantage of the lower interest rates available at that time to keep the debt service the same, but to accelerate it, to shorten it by at least a few years. And so that might allow us to shorten it to 2042 or 2043 at least, which would be great.
It amazes me that the state has a higher bond, the AAA with, the figures we get out of we were in a projected deficit, we're in surplus, and
It's a little bit of whiplash, isn't it?
yeah. And now we have such a great credit rating because we don't know what's coming and going. All right, any other questions? So the big day is December 14th, you sell?
Correct.
Okay.
An award. And so I would ask you to take out the set sale resolution, which does two things. It allows us to move forward with your team to take the steps necessary towards that sale. And then it also authorizes making that application to the state for the credit enhancement program.
Okay, and so we're talking about, let's see, the resolution on page 175. Okay.
And 165, are there two? Yeah, there's two
Okay,
resolutions.
okay, so the one is on one.
They're 10 pages
175.
apart, yeah,
Yeah.
65 and 175. Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
I would move that we go ahead and approve both those resolutions for the jail bond pre-sale.
Motion by Commissioner Meyer.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Kavesi to approve the sale of the bonds. Any further discussion? Mr. Jacobs?
I'll just say that I'll be consistent with not supporting the jail, and so I'll be voting against the bond issuance here.
And I agree with you. It's unfortunate. We have to figure out how to pay for it. And I guess this is the best option, but it is a statement of not supporting this scope and scale of a project. So, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Nay. Okay, passes. All right. Go get us the best deal you can.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. 7.4, receive monthly finance and budget update for September. Pat, good morning.
Morning. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
through the cash flow for the month of September. For September, starting out, the beginning cash was $12.4 million. Actual revenues were 1.3. Actual expenses were 1.4. Ending cash balance was 12.3. For the whole year, beginning cash was 14.3. Actual revenues were 13.5. Actual expenses were 15.5. Ending cash is the 12.3 again. Variance in the revenue fund is a negative 1.9 compared to a negative 4.3. For all the funds that are being presented here, it's a negative 3.1 compared to last year's 6 million negative. Any questions on this document? Well, I guess I will mention that community service is a negative balance, but they actually are less than last year, so that's a positive.
Funny how you finance guys think.
I'm used to it by now.
We'll go to, if no questions, we can go to the summary document. Cash starts out at 18.5. Actual revenues is 29.3 million. Actual expenses is 32.3. Ending cash is 15.5. Variances are the same that were presented in the previous document. Any questions on this document? If not, we can go to the summary budget. Summary budget, we are at 75% for the month of September. Looking at the items that are being presented here, the only item that is actually over the 75% is human services. We've been watching that item, and again, you know, to hopefully to lessen the amount of what actually occurs by the end of the year. So at this point, we're working on that to make sure that, again, that, you know, we try to buffer that any way that we can. Also wanted to present that the interest budgeted was $250,000. We've earned 131, so we're only at 53%. The interest actually is an ups and flows, and it all depends on, you know, what we have in the bank and at this, and also the interest rates, and the interest rates are quite low at the present time. Any questions on this document? If not, thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Ends our agenda. Committee reports and communications. Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, we had a WINLEC meeting yesterday, and it actually was a joint meeting with the policy committee and the advisory committee. And we started to work on prioritizing the concerns and the issues. There are 34 of them. And so that's going to be an ongoing project, and we'll finish that shortly and keep moving on towards the plan. So.
All right. And water's going to freeze soon.
We hope.
Okay, Commissioner Meyer.
Yep, 2 committee reports. So there's an organization here, I attend their meetings, called the Rural Child Care Initiative Program. They got some grant money before the pandemic to do some of their own research about the shortage of child care. And so at our next meeting, which is the 23rd, I invited Administrator Fritz to come and talk to them about the possibilities of how ARPA money could be used to expand child care. So he's going to just show up and briefly describe to those folks what some ideas might be for them to make a later proposal. Great River Rail met earlier. And I will just say that as a result of the legislation that got passed at the state of Minnesota, there'll be about $19 million worth of rail crossing improvements made and side tracks here inside the city of Winona. But we got a presentation at the last meeting about the kind of the plan from the federal administration to improve freight rail transportation in the region and how that would affect us in the state of Minnesota and along the river route. So the infrastructure bill that passed at the federal level means that a lot of that funding will go forward. So we will be able to expect, at least from a rail situation, some improvements coming from that. I, of course, would be very curious to see if this helps us with any of our road and bridge issues and kind of the fact that we just consistently fall behind, right? So those are the upgrades, the updates. In terms of a potential future board action, over 2 years ago now, it was a long time ago, I had asked if we could potentially talk about a nuisance ordinance. And nothing has happened on it, so I'm bringing it back up again. The idea is that there are properties just outside the city limits that end up having quite a lot of stuff in their yards. And we don't really have a zoning ordinance that allows our planning and environmental services department to to work with them to clean that up. And so they wouldn't qualify as a junkyard, but because they don't have exactly what our definition is. So I would like to talk about asking our planning commission to investigate and sort of decide if that's a good idea or not.
Okay, anybody else?
So I guess I'm looking for a second.
I would second that.
Okay, all right. So Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Kavesi, so that will come to the future board meeting.
Yeah, to see if we can get 3 votes.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Nope, that's
No.
it. Thanks.
Okay, all right. When you're talking about the rail, can we get with the coming roundabouts, can we get something with the train that I stop for periodically? And I haven't gotten a straight answer from anybody in the roundabout. Do I just keep going round and round, or do I stop if the train is there?
I was talking to someone in Casson yesterday, and she started, and they're getting roundabouts, and MnDOT's trying to convince everybody it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's the buzz thing for MnDOT to do. Anyway, all right. A couple things. Last Monday, the first, we had our District 9 AMC meeting, and it was well attended. I'll probably just give this to Ms. Holte, and maybe we can make copies. We had the ballot of all the subcommittees that we have: Environment, Natural Resources, General Government, Health and Human Services, Public Safety, and Transportation Infrastructure. And it was a list of 24 areas that the committees have felt were high importance, and everybody there in attendance was supposed to vote on 5 to narrow our focus for our annual meeting. So they're going across the state to all the regions, and then they'll be compiling this list. So Ms. Holte, maybe I can just give you this so you can make copies, so everybody can see what was being discussed at the AMC meeting. Just a note to the public, our advisory committee our committees are taking applications, and those applications need to be in by November 14th at 4 o'clock. And it is online. They can go to the website and they can fill out, or they can come down and get a paper copy. Remember all that, I had to remind my family, all our ag property taxes are due on Monday, November 15th. So be sure all the ag properties are due now on the 15th. Please pay those. And remember, November 11th, we had a couple veterans here. November 11th is Veterans Day. I know there's different celebrations going on across the community, but do support our veterans and say thank you, and do whatever you can to recognize them. And I think that takes care of everything for today. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Jacob.
Just want to make sure on that note with the veterans coming today, do we need to have a future agenda item to follow up on the complaints brought forward here today? How will that?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, if we could do some research and then get back to you, and then perhaps you can bring it back or bring it up at another meeting, depending on what we find. I most certainly am open to whatever you like. I just think we need to do some homework before we
I think,
bring it out.
If I remember the timeline, so we used to do that, the transportation, and then we went to this regionalization thing that we all support regionalization until it doesn't work. So, yeah.
But I'd like to seek to understand what's really not working, and if it's perhaps a personnel issue with the organization versus that the process is broken.
I think my concern will be that this gentleman has contacted me a couple of times, and I told him, feel free to come to the board so that the board can hear the concerns. He'll be probably contacting me back. What happened is, well, it's just kind of be is going to go away and the business of county happening. So I think I would like to see that it comes back on our agenda so that I could tell them that, yeah, our assistant county administrator is going to look into it, and then we're going to review what she finds.
Okay.
So
May I provide an
Consulting.
update at perhaps the next county board meeting as
Yes,
an
we'll ask for
agenda
an
item? Would
update.
that suffice?
We're asking for an update as to what's going on, if further action, because like Commissioner Olson said, exactly, yeah, we got told this was supposed to be a great service, and we endorsed it, and it's not working, we need to make some changes. Right.
and I'd also like to compliment Commissioner Kavesi on her choice of outfits. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's just matching, man.
You're twins.
Oh, yeah.
Blue shirt, gray jacket. You got the memo. All
Coin.
right.
You gotta let us know.
Yeah.
I almost wore pink, so there you go. Yeah.
I figure, yeah, we should have uniforms. I think Ron's got a couple extra we could borrow, or something.
Oh, that would be pretty official.
I
Yeah.
don't think we're supposed to impersonate officers.
No, I'm saying the jail suits.
Oh,
Jail
Oh, I
I
see.
thought you
Orange
meant-
jumpsuits,
All right, then.
Well, that'd be comfortable, I guess.
All right, being no further business to come before the Winona County Board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Olson, second by Commissioner Meyer to adjourn. Any discussion?
It was.
Oh,
Commissioner
Commissioner Kavesi, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Kavesi. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Or adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.